every day it feels like I'm still just starting out with all this. So for someone who feels like they're just starting out, what might be a first step in moving towards more transparency?
I'd say the first step is find your home frequency. Learn to be in yourself and centered as much as possible and not to project. Don't project into the past. Don't project into the future because there's really not out there anymore. There's just this huge present moment. Everything's in the present moment with you at different frequencies. So instead of having a future, you have a lot of potential realities. And if you put your attention on them, they will come to you. But you don't have to work in a linear fashion toward a future. So that's one thing. The main thing is have a way to discriminate when you're being your true self and when you're like in your left brain in a reactionary mode. And then start really preferring the soul-based reality. Because the soul never says should. That's one way to recognize it. And intuition and the right brain does not have language. So if you can stop talking or being on your cell phone, listening to language and even your own inner self-talk and just get quiet for a minute and be with nature or feel into a flower or a tree, you will shift into your right brain, which opens your intuition and which opens the doorway to the soul's wisdom. So if you can't be quiet, you're in trouble.
So that's a lot of us. A lot of us are in trouble, Penny.
I know. It's a habit. We've got to have a little bit of a backlash against our cell phones and gadgets and iPads and constant addiction to screens and constant connection to everybody. Just be quiet for a minute, Let yourself feel what you are, without all the stimulus. Otherwise, we're going to go nuts.
You mentioned just now about the potential realities. I think that kind of has something to do with what you were mentioning, invocation, which is sort of towards the end of the book. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about that, because you just mentioned how we don't have to do it in this linear way.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where so many of us get caught up, is looking at, okay, what are the linear steps that I need to get to this goal? And then it feels impossible.
Yeah. And it's going to take a lot of time and willpower and effort and all this. Well, when you think about invocation, I have to backtrack just a little because, okay, so if you're very left brain dominant, you're going to be in that thing you just described. Step by step, A, B, C, D, E, and it ends up with F. It's the old way. It's cause and effect thinking. But now we're having this kind of thing where everything's in the present moment. So that means if you put your attention on a possible reality, and if you merge with that in your mind, that means you put all your attention on it and in it. I always think of possible futures or realities really as little movies, little spherical bubbles floating in space. And if I look at them, I can get closer and closer and closer and closer, and then I actually step into them. And there's the reality, and I can play with it. I can say, oh, look, if this were my reality, I would know these people, it would be feeling like this, we would cooperate this way. I could really understand it. I could even manipulate it a little bit. Like I say, well, I'd rather have it be this way, and then the reality would shift to be like this. That means we're playing in the imaginal realm, and that is our non-physical selves. So learning to work with imagination is paramount here, and learning to understand that the imaginal realm is the real reality. We are the afterthought of the imaginal realm. The physical manifests out of the imaginal. So to get something to happen often, with invocation, what that's about is saying, I know I'm connected to all the souls. I know I'm connected to every possible variable, to every possible reality. I would like to call in, that's invoke, call in the reality that it's just right for me with all the people who I need to know and work with next. And I know that I have many friends in the physical world and the non-physical world that want me to succeed so that I can help them. If I do my thing, I'll give it to them and then they can do their thing and we're all, hooked up together. And so please help me. And that you put that out into the field of the inner realms of the non-physical world where everything is so directly interconnected. There's no time and space. There's no separation. Everybody can get it telepathically at once. No effort involved. And then let go, but keep your attention focused on the feeling of that reality you'd like. And very likely then, ideas will come to you and sudden synchronicities and people showing up, and it will very rapidly come together. Without all that heavy duty work and willpower. And it's not that you don't take action. It's not that you don't put in your dues a little bit and prove yourself and develop your skill, but you do it a step at a time because each step feels like fun. Things just become a lot more frictionless.
Well, sign me up for that. That sounds good. Less friction.
I know. Yeah, it's so smooth. It's very fluid what's coming, very fluid.